Welcome back to another video. It's 7:30 in the morning and I've come to Wollerton Hall. It's somewhere up there, Fun fact, Batman was filmed here. Some of the Batman scenes were filmed here, so that's interesting. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I'm here with Brad. I will link his Instagram down below. Expert photographer in every fashion. But what caught my eye, mostly about his pictures personally, is how good he is at wildlife photography. And I thought, I need a piece of that. How good would that look on video? So, Brad's going to teach us his photography skills when it comes to wildlife and landscape, and we're going to then apply that to videography.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
So, let's go and catch some stuff. You go first. Whoa! He's done it. He made it. Now it's my turn. God. This is a bad idea.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's actually quite flat. Did it? Made it. What I want to know, Brad, is when you get to your location, how, like, I mean, look at where we are at the moment. Like, there's loads of stuff. Where do you start? Where do you choose where to go and what to point the camera at to begin with?
At a place like Wollerton, it's known for its deer. I've been here quite a lot, so I sort of know where they are in the park and where they sort of congregate, if you like. So that would be the first point of call. But with wildlife photography anyway, I've taken so many shots where you've just been walking down a path and you sort of see something. So I think it's more about exploring rather than having something in your mind. I think it's good to have expectations before you start, but if you hold yourself accountable to too many expectations, then you're probably going to be a little bit deflated if you come away and don't get those shots. So I think keep in mind that there's always tomorrow. There's always another sunrise, there's always another sunset. You know, with wildlife stuff, you can be pretty much outdoors all day. And I know a lot of people that have taken great shots in the back garden. Don't feel like you need to go out into the elements, into the Alps to get like a great landscape shot. You know, this could be something right around the corner, 5 minutes from your home. But utilise the weather as well. Just get out in all seasons, get out in the rain if you have to. But just make sure you're exploring all the time and revisit spots if you have to. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've been to Wollerton, but there's something new that I see every time. And it's more about that than it is having expectations before you come, because you never know what you're going to find.
Great point. So, for example, this is my first time here, so I wouldn't know where to start. So I would literally just have to walk around like we pretty much have been doing today. Like Brad obviously has been here a bunch of times, so he knows the spots where the wildlife is. So we're just sort of doing like circles, really looking for stuff.
I think you get the best shots when you start to understand certain animals' behaviours, because you can predict what they're going to do. I think that's the job of a photographer anyway, is being able to see more before it actually happens, being in the right place at the right time, and that only comes by getting out and actually exploring and being in the thick of it, so to speak.
Because it is wildlife and it's unpredictable, the only thing you can do, it's like not a case of, all right, I'm going to go and look for this today. It's see what's there, have a walk around and capture what you can, basically. You can't control it, can you?
No.
You can't control what animals are going to be there, if they're facing the right. That is one of the things, because I had in mind some shots that I've seen on Brad's Instagram, and I was like, I want to get that shot. But you quickly realise that they're not going to start posing for you, essentially.
And the funny thing is, the images you've probably seen are shots that I didn't expect to take in the first place.
There you go. So you've pretty much got to go with an open mind. And like Brad said earlier, if you don't find anything on that day, there's always tomorrow. No expectations basically is like the biggest advice I could give, even just from being out here today.
Yeah, I think it's good to push yourself to get certain shots, because I definitely think that makes you a little bit more focused, I guess, when you get to a certain location, so you don't waste time. You know, there's a lot of wildlife photographers out there, like the BBC Earth guys, who are literally camping out for weeks on end to get a certain shot.
But they've got the luxury of...
Exactly, yeah. They do have the luxury of being able to do that.
I've already explained that one of the main things that caught my eye about Brad's photography is the framing, but above all, the colour grade that he uses. Obviously, he's got his own preset packs for Lightroom, which I will leave a link in the description for, because they're so nice, they're incredible, and it is eye-catching. It always stands out. I think that develops over time, doesn't it? Like, you've definitely got a style that you've worked on and finessed it, and it's become yours. So how did you develop that? How much of it is the camera settings and how much of it is like the work that you do in Lightroom?
Again, as you sort of grow as a photographer and you've been out on a lot of sunrises, sunsets, you start to get a feel for how you want your photos to actually look. When I picked up a camera for the first time, it was around autumn and there was a lot of fog, so that originally, I think, influenced my style, because it's quite moody, and as you start to see things differently, you get a feel for what sort of conditions you might want to shoot in, so you start to keep a closer eye on the weather app on your phone. I've been speaking to friends where we decide at sort of midnight to get up at 6 o'clock for a sunrise because we know it's going to be frosty. Getting out in the right conditions is the first point of call to getting a great image. The grading does play a big part. It's like video. If you shoot in the right lighting conditions in the first place, you're obviously going to produce a better image, and then your grading is going to be absolutely fantastic. But there's some times when you don't necessarily get great lighting, and I play a lot about with radial filters and graduated filters in Lightroom to sort of mimic a flare, draw the eye into the middle of the frame a little bit more. So as my style's been influenced by the sort of moody, foggy scenery, I naturally just wanted to enhance that in Lightroom and throughout my editing. So as I was taking photos in those conditions at the start of my photography journey, I guess it sort of just carried on through, and I stuck with that style of editing no matter whether it's on a sunny morning or a sunrise. Just experiment. I'm still experimenting now, I'm still learning, I'm still playing around with my presets. Originally I did play with a few presets in Lightroom. It saved a lot of time because you can reverse engineer what somebody else has done and figure out the ways in which to manipulate a photo to your own style. And that's what I really try and push with my presets, is that they serve as a base so people can go out and actually develop their own style.
So with all that in mind, we're going to go and head out and do a little bit more filming now and shooting. Take some of those tips we've learned and apply that to video as well. And also, I'm going to try and make the colour grade as close to Brad's presets as possible and see if I can get that cool, sort of moody look. Yeah. So let's go and have a look at what we can get. So when it comes to gear, depending on what you're doing will determine what gear you need. So I've got different lenses to Brad, for example, because I'm filming different things. Look at that.
Beast.
Could you tell us a little bit about why you use the gear that you do? Like, for example, the camera you've chosen and the lenses, and how you ended up at that point?
Yeah, I think when you get out often, you start to realise what gear you need, because you maybe see shots that quite far away. So super long telephoto might be great, but in a lot of cases this might be quite excessive Obviously, doing a landscape shot on this thing is just a no-go unless you're getting the compression of layered mountains, you know, things like that. I started on a 70-200 doing my wildlife stuff and quickly realised that was probably a little bit too short, especially for bird photography. With bigger animals like the deer, you can get a little bit closer, but wildlife photography is about being quite stealthy. Realistically, you need a longer lens to get the reach and be hidden. But again, this all comes down to getting out and exploring, because you eventually realise what gear would be suitable for you to have in your gear bag to take the kind of shots you want to take. I started out on a 700D, and a great lens can make a massive difference. Try not to get absorbed into the I need an R5 right now. I don't need an R5 right now. You know, this is like suffice really, the R. There's a lot you can get away with the camera you've got, and just buying the next lens up and just keep upgrading as your skills grow.
Right, so I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and learnt a lot from the tips. Special thanks to Brad for coming down and sharing his knowledge and his experience. It's definitely been an eye-opener for me. Such a great location as well. I'll be definitely coming here again, for sure. Anyway, have a great week. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever done wildlife photography or videography before, or if you're going to experiment with it in the future. And see you in the next video.